Good morning, everybody. So I'm not going to talk too long today, only because I really want to get to this presentation because it's so important. But I do want to say a couple of things. One, I want to thank Jill for hosting this every month, Policing with the People, and for FCTV for taping me for rebroadcast. Awesome. Gotta love them. And this is very important because this will be shown over and over loop walking into town meeting, because in town meeting we're going to be asking for a considerable amount of money to build this thing for design work, $5,150,000. So it's critical that town meeting that this passes so we can get out of there. I'd like to see us out of there in 2.5 years if it's humanly possible, just because of all the problems that we've been having. And I want to get ahead of it. Some people will say, well, why don't you move somewhere else, temporary housing? Well, when I was in Westboro, we did just that. We had the Forbes Municipal Building Project. I inherited that project. We moved into an office park, and it was a nightmare. Westboro, we lose power quite a bit, and the doors would lock us in and lock us out. We had no generator. We had no booking facility. We had to go to Southborough, different places. It just didn't work. It wasn't a police station. It wasn't conducive. We had some issues with some folks in the lobby because it was a police station while, a gentleman's walking his 9-year-old into the dentist's office. It just wasn't good. So we're stuck there until we can get out of there. So if we have a sewage back up again, if water comes in the building, with the wonderful folks from DPW, we're going to clean it up and we're going to carry on because that's what we do. I say to people all the time, you buy a house next to the train tracks, eventually it doesn't wake you up at night, right? So I'm here to tell you that place wakes me up every night. It's disgusting, and we need to go. The last thing I want to share is the community engagement work that these folks are doing at the police department is unbelievable. So I want to give you an example. So right now we know everything that's going on with SNAP and the federal shutdown and everything else. And I tell people all the time I built a career on being at the right place, the right time, luck and timing. We had a food drive this weekend. It's just luck and timing, right time to have it, right? We want to help people that are in need. So we did the same thing. I call it handcuff hunger. We're handcuffing hunger, not hungry people. We're trying to handcuff hunger. And I think we collected, it was, 1,500, 1,500 pounds of food. We collected, I think, a little over 300 in cash. This Saturday, we collected 3,400 pounds of food and $1,350 in cash. So I'm really pleased with our community engagement team and with the police department, but you folks, awesome. I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart that we're all working together to help people that are in need. And we do have 3,000 individuals, in the town of Falmouth that is on the SNAP program. So this is something that does affect us, and it's extremely important that we help each other, especially in times of need. So as we enter November, month of Thanksgiving, I thank you for having your police department here, the first full Monday of every month. I look forward to next month. We've got some great programs coming up, right, I think through January, with the police department and different things. And with that being said, the 3 individuals with us today, Boyd DeMello, as you all know, with the fire department, he's the chair of the building committee. He's going to kick things off for us. We have Captain DaCosta. He's going to add some insight into this. And then we have Tom McGuire. With the deputy chief, Brian Lowen, we're the internal working group committee working on this. Captain DaCosta is the head of our accreditation program. We want to make sure this facility meets those standards. And Tom McGuire, he has history in the building. He was actually a high school teacher, a construction teacher, and did that before he was a police officer. So he's been invaluable through this process. And that being said, Boyd, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chief.
I don't know if that's on.
We've gone over that already. Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. So again, my name is Boyd DeMello. I'm chairman of the Police Station Advisory Committee. Serving on the committee with me are other members, Chris April, our vice chair, Mike Duffany, local builder, and 2 retired police chiefs, Robert Zollo and George Sherrill, make up the committee for the new police station. I got to say that we started out appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and then early January we started as a committee looking at sites for the new police station. working on picking the owner's project manager for the project, which is Veritex Companies, is the OPM that the OPM overlooks and oversees the town operation. They're our eyes and ears on the project, and we rely on them heavily. We're fortunate with Veritex because they were also the owner's project manager for the Hatchville Fire Station project, which was a successful project. And then we picked Tecton Architects out of Connecticut as the architectural firm to design the new police station. So working with those folks, members of the town's administration, the Department of Public Works, the Community Development Planning Office, and others, we've been meeting every 2 weeks since January and looking for a site to place this new police station, the much-needed new police station. So with that, we're going to just move forward through some slides. We're going to go through them kind of quickly. This slide here represents the current police station, which is right outside next door here. Next to it is the senior center where we are today, then obviously the rec center. To that, behind this building is the Fuller Field, and out front is the Edward Marks building. This makes up the municipal campus here at this end of Main Street. That blue area that you see highlighted is about 2.5 acres, which is what the current police department site takes up on this parcel, which this parcel is much larger. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the acreage is on that parcel. This picture here demonstrates, we're looking at about a 4.5 acre site for a new police station, the proposed station, which the main building, some canopy covered parking for police cruisers, then what we're calling an outbuilding. The existing police station is about just over 22,000 square feet, actually just shy of 23,000 square feet. We're looking at a new building of 43,744, plus an outbuilding of 4,500 square feet, and to place that on about 4.5 acres to provide parking and some buffer to surrounding areas. And with that, I'm going to let Captain DaCosta speak to the operations of the police department and how it affects the new station.
Good morning. So what you see on the slide today is our 5 operational areas. So normally we have 5 officers out. Each one obviously has their own patrol car. So we looked at how we can be more effective through the community. And if you look at the blue star, that's, next door, our police department. But if you move closer into the center of the area, you'll see the yellow. And we prefer to be in the center. And why we prefer to be in the center of the community is we can reach all of our patrol areas. Because over the course of a shift, a police officer has to come back in to do certain paperwork, if he arrests somebody, or if he just charges somebody with a crime, or has to pick something else up. We go back and forth to the police station. Basically, it's our hub. So we would like to look at it as more of a kind of a wagon wheel as you look at it, where the hub is in the middle so that all our officers can get back and forth in an effective manner and still get out to all of you in a timely manner to ensure that you're safe. That's why we're concentrating on that spot there. So yes, there's normally at least 5 officers on duty with a desk officer and a supervisor. So 7 people. Sometimes we'll get up to 9 or 10 people depending on what's going on. Is it underneath?
And just to add real quick, also it's for you folks. So if you have to come in to get a report, if you have to do any type of business at hand, that it's easier for you to traverse instead of having to deal with all the traffic, downtown.
Excellent point. Thank you, Chief. Okay, so how did we get into this? So we want to define our need. Why do we need a new police station? Other than, ours has some infrastructure issues. What do we need for our police department, and what can we use to grow for our police department? So we have to have a station that can accommodate our needs. So we did basically a staffing study. It's quite a large study. It is on our internet and also I believe it's on the committee site that you can check out. I'm just going to quickly summarize it for you. So the Falmouth Police Department staffing study recommended a strategic personnel improvements to address increasing community needs, emphasizing traffic safety, investigative capacity, and community engagement, while aligning with evidence-based practices to boost operational efficiency, officer wellness, and public trust. So right now, we have 67 police officers authorized for our department. We have a few going into the academy. It's 3, and then we have another one lateral transfer, and 7 civilians. So what we did was, we looked across New England with communities that had the same traits, basically tourism, maritime activities, local events, beaches, scenic landscapes, and of course, our influx of visitors during the summer. So how does that play out in comparison? The year-round population ratio is 28%, or 19 officers below the average of the other communities in New England. So that would propose a 86 officer department. And that's what we're gonna recommend. But as I go through, I'd love to show you some of the other numbers that basically we call them like industry standards. So the population rises to over 100,000 during the summer. And that's an increase of, nearly 200%. That's a lot of folks. And we're policing with the same number of officers. So we suggest at that point, using these numbers, 110 officers. The national average actually calls for 240 officers. That would be fiscally irresponsible, but that's what it's supposed to take to be able to police Falmouth properly during the summer. So let's compare it to the crime rate. Again, we looked at all these different communities. We were at 56%, or 38 officers fewer than necessary to handle the same crime rate in other locations. So that would mean we needed 105 officers. Now let's look at the civilian staff, because this is an important area where there are functions that the police officers need not be doing, and sometimes a civilian is a better expert at doing those type of functions. So right now, again, comparing ourselves to the other communities, we are 229% below the average across these communities. That's 16 positions. So with this, the impact is pretty obvious. Slower response times, reduced proactive policing, and limited specialized services, whether it be a sworn officer or a civilian. We'd also like to increase the patrol areas, as you saw in the other slide there. That's 5 areas. We'd like to increase it up to 8, and we'd need 14 additional officers to do that, and that's included in the original numbers. So the benefit there is faster response times and an expanded area of coverage. So as we gradually add these officers across a 5-year plan, that's 19 more sworn officers and 11 more civilian staff, for a total of 86 police officers and 17 civilian staff. And there are different types of people. Mostly we're looking for specialization. Right now we've got a lot of generalization. So we're looking at a dedicated traffic unit, expanded detective and school resource capacity, community engagement. We want to expand that. We have a police marine unit we just started in collaboration with MES. So we have a couple officers over there, but only part-time. We have the most coastline on any town on the Cape. We're also looking at adding a drug detection dog, explosive detection dog, comfort dog, and a patrol dog, as well as some civilian roles like evidence, training, grant coordinators, and so forth. So that's a lot of people to ensure we're being effective with our policing mission across your community. Our current facility doesn't have enough space to support the proposed staffing increases or the modern equipment or specialized units. So that's what we're looking at to do there. And I will transfer this back over to Boyd so he can talk about the building size.
Okay, about the building size. So early on, once Tecton came on board for the project, they met with the police department staff. In fact, they met with the entire police department. Chief Lowry uses this as a team building exercise for his staff to have them all have input into their house, their home, the place they're going to work, which is important. So originally, the wish list of everything that we wanted came in at around 58,846 square feet and an outbuilding of 3,600 square feet for a total gross square footage of over 62,000 square feet. Obviously, like I said, that was the Cadillac version of what we wanted, had all its stuff in it, but realistically looking at building a building within the confines of the budget and the town, we scaled that back. We took an initial shot at it and brought it back down to about 23% from the original proposed gross square footage. So we're down to 43,744 square feet, and we increased the size of the outbuilding by 4,500 square feet. We moved a few of the services that were going to be in the main building out to the outbuilding and relocated them out there, because generally the outbuilding we can build cheaper. Doesn't require all the structural components that the main building does, so we can increase the square footage of there and reduce the main building a little bit to save some building costs. Now we come down to selecting the location. This is what the committee really worked on hard. Like I said, we're meeting every 2 weeks for months. Occasionally we were meeting weekly. And we came up, originally the Community Development Planning Department back in 2023 started looking at town-owned property that they owned and whittled this down for various reasons for the town use, not just for the police station. But they started out with 576 parcels and went through different stages of jettisoning them for conservation restriction, size of the lot, and other issues, and got it down to around 22, and gave those another review and presented the committee with about 16 parcels for us to look at. And these are 18 of the evaluation criteria we use on our scoring matrix to define the value of the property as far as building a new station with the municipal service availability. Municipal presence is a big one. We wanted to put it near another town building so you kind of have a municipal campus similar to where we are today. Deed restrictions, lot size, site history, all these 18 factors played into our scoring on the scale of the properties, and they're in no particular order on this slide here today. One of the things that we bump up against is a little thing called Article 97. It's part of the Massachusetts constitutional protections for land designated as open space or recreation. So what are the Article 97 implications for this project? We'll likely delay the project for at least 1.5 years, potentially up to 3 years. There's a lot of uncertainty of whether we can obtain approval, and I'm going to go through the approval process so you folks understand it. A 1-year delay on this project is going to add about $2 million to this cost of this project. The cost will keep going up as we delay the project. What's the process for removing land from an Article 97? It's not easy. First, you have to make a submission of alternative analysis to the Mass Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs. Simplifying that, if we're going to take 5 acres from one place, we have to identify where we're going to put it back somewhere else. Identification and dedication of the replacement land to Article 97 purposes. Then we have to go back to the Energy and Environmental Affairs for consistency and review, make sure we're complying with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 3, subsection 5A. It's a lot of reading, we won't go into that today. Public comment on the alternative analysis output, and we have to take public comment back. We have to do appraisals on the impacted land and the replacement land to make sure that they're of equal value. Town meeting approval to file the special legislation. Then we have to submit a petition to the special legislation, to the Mass Legislature. Has to go through Mass Environmental Review Act review, and then it has to be approved by a 2/3 vote of the Mass Legislature. That's why it's going to take 1.5 years to up to 3 years to do it. It just doesn't happen overnight. I wanted to explain Article 97 because a lot of properties out there, and you'll hear talk in the community, what about this parcel, what about that parcel? When we listen to everyone, we take them in, and then all of a sudden Article 97 pops up. So I just wanted to explain that clearly so we understand where we're at. It's kind of like a stop sign for us. I'm gonna go through a bunch of parcels that are still in play for this project. Like I said, we had 16 of them. We're not gonna review them all today because some of them in the committees we jettisoned for various reasons overall. This property, is what we call parcel 14. The numbering on these properties you see in this display are just strictly numbers that we assigned to the parcel during our review process. This is actually 484 Brick Hill Road, which is across from the Lutheran Church. This is the site that the committee has presented to the Board of Selectmen as the proposed site. Currently, it's a 101-acre parcel of town-owned land. We're looking at taking about 4.5 acres out of this parcel on the most northern section of the parcel, which is right across the Lutheran Church. Reasons we like this site, it was the ease of vehicle access to all areas of town, as Captain DaCosta alluded to in his presentation. There's 5 police sectors. Brick Hill Road is a major east-west corridor in the town of Falmouth that allows us to get up onto 28, Gifford Street back into town, farther down Brick Hill Road to 28 in the T-Ticket East Falmouth section of town. So it provides good access to all areas of town. The sight lines on Brick Hill Road and this section of property are outstanding. It's a nice stretch of roadway, either side of the police station. We did look at a property to the west of this one, but put it more of a curve of Brick Hill Road, which reduced the sight lines, which are important when you have increased vehicle traffic pulling in and out of the station. Again, close proximity to all the patrol areas. There's no deed restrictions on this property, and this committee looked at this early, and we thought there were deed restrictions on it. Then we came into some more research and found out there were none. Its proximity to Falmouth High School is important. The big thing about this, and this was a prerequisite for this site, we're able to tie into the sewer system from this site. So there'll be no sewer plant or no sewer septic systems on the site. We're able to tie in. The town's currently starting another sewer project for the T-ticket path area of town. The force main for this project is going to go right down Brick Hill Road. We're able to tie into the force main from this property, and so we can take the sewerage off-site, and it's outside the flood zone. This property scored a 76 on our matrix scale, and a perfect score, we had a perfect property, which we didn't. It would have been 85 was a perfect score, but we hit 76 with this one, and that was the top score on that. A few of the other parcels that are, since we've been to the Board of Selectmen and taken community input, which we value, one of them was the Neal Youth Baseball Field, which is currently undergoing some rehabilitation because it was put on top of the old town dump, and there's some cleanup that has to be done there. We did reject this site. It's a capped landfill. It's got poor bearing capacity due to the landfill. It's within a couple thousand feet of some flood zone area. Replacement of the 3 ball fields will be challenging to relocate them somewhere else. This is going to require some deep foundation piers, and a liner is going to be required at a very higher cost to seal what's underneath the ground currently. Recapping project is currently in the works. The town's working diligently to restore those fields back to baseball field use. Disturbance and disposal of trash during construction is problematic, and the remediation costs are undefined at this time. There would be the cost of shipping contaminated soils off-site to a place that can take them in. It's got poor vehicle access. If any of you have spent any time on Gifford Street, there's a little bit of a hill there to the north of the property, which makes pulling in and out the property difficult, unlike the Sandwich Road parcel, which is nice and flat with a clear view. And unfortunately, yes, it has some Article 97 restrictions. Also, there's high-tension power lines that border the back of the property under the third field. And if you've been to the Little League field, there's no lights in the third field because you can't put lighting up because of the high-tension lines. So this was brought to us as a possibility. The committee did do a deep dive on it, and we rejected it for those reasons. This location is 233 Brick Hill Road, one of Barbara's favorite areas in town. And this was brought to us. We actually didn't look at this parcel early on, but it was brought to us. We did take a look at it, and we have some concerns with the site as far as a police station. It's in the water recharge overlay district. It's got Article 97 protections. It was purchased from land bank funds. Would involve relocating the dog park either somewhere else on the property or to another site. It's a narrow site and it's angled frontage, if you could, when you saw that map. And it's the dual use of a public drive for access to the dog park. You potentially would have to have the public parking for the police station and a driveway off that to go to the dog park. And we saw some impact to the abutters as a business. It's a residential area. And there's some extensive storm water drainage restrictions and stormwater equipment on the property currently that just doesn't make it a good site for us. This is 100 Brick Hill Road, otherwise known as the Augusta parcel, or formerly the Cape Cod Drive-In Theater many years ago. This is located up behind Falmouth Lumber. It does have some frontage on T-Ticket Highway, and it has frontage on Brick Hill Road. This parcel we're still looking at. There is some work and some research to be done on it. There's a sewer easement that runs through the entire west side of the property. There will be getting a lift station put on the property, a sizable lift station when the current sewering plan goes in. There's some deed restrictions that we're digging down with town council on currently, so it wouldn't be prudent for me to comment anymore on what the deed restrictions are. It's intended for water resource protection for a lift station and a possible discharge of treated wastewater if the ocean outfall pipe isn't approved a few years down the road. It's a challenging parcel. It has some access issues, and there's some neighborhood impact as well. But we haven't ruled this one out yet. Another town-owned parcel is the Carriage Shop Road parcel. I believe it's called the Allen parcel. after the people that owned it previously. It's 71.3 acres. 57 of those acres are in conservation restriction, but there's 14 acres on that parcel that's up on the road that are available for municipal use. Again, it's got poor vehicle access on Carrot Shop Road. There's some endangered species possibilities out there. The 14-acre site is currently reserved for wastewater discharge, again, if the ocean outfall pipe project is not approved. And there is a deed restriction on the 57 acres, and there's no sewer connection out there. That had a matrix score of 61. It dropped down on the list pretty significantly during our review. Blacksmith Shop Road, the wastewater treatment plant, 314.5 acres. We looked at that parcel. It's still kind of in contention. We're looking around, waiting for some more input on this. It's a remote location, however. It's got poor vehicle access. It's up on Blacksmith Shop Road and Service Road. There's some blind curves in that road, making entry to the property difficult. Limited area available due to the wastewater treatment plant and underground electrical utilities on the property. There is areas, that's 300 acres, that's reserved for future expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. And there's some severe topography and soil issues up there that's getting more back into the moraine area on the West Falmouth side of town. That parcel 14, or the preferred site that we're recommending, actually is just out of the moraine. And we did some geotechnical studies on that property, and doesn't present any major hurdles for construction on the Brick Hill Road property. Where we're going to have some hurdles, we're going to have a lot of rock and stuff in the ground there. There's a couple schools that brought back to our attention: the T-Ticket Highway, the school administration property, and the Morse Pond School property. Briefly on those, here's the school administration building located at the fork of Sandwich Road and T-Ticket Highway. It's 6.6 acres. We're still talking about this parcel. There's some traffic congestion, T-Ticket Highway and Sandwich Road. No one argues about that. Additional roadway improvements costs will likely be imposed by MassDOT, and it could be incurred by the town of Falmouth when we start looking at curb cuts on the property. There's some deed restrictions on it because it's a historic building. There's some butter impacts from PD operations. It's adjacent to a flood zone about 450 feet away. We have to relocate a ball field, and the historic building's in fair condition per the building facilities condition assessment that was recently conducted by the town. But we haven't ruled that one out yet either. We're still working on that one. The Jones Road, Morse Pond School, if you've read the Enterprise, the school, it looks like is moving forward with turning that building back over to the town. So that has been in discussion with our committee for a while. We did look at it. It's 20.9 acres, which gives us more than enough land. However, the earliest this could be vacated by the schools is about 7 years with the Lawrence School renovation project and the redistricting the school's proposing. Jones Road, again, congested road, truck traffic. I probably can drive out there right now and find congestion on the road. Then we get to the weekend or the busy summer months, and Jones Road's, a parking lot if anyone spent any time on that. There are some abutter impacts from PD operation. There's a flood zone on part of the parcel, and we look at replacing some sports field that would be taken out to place the new police station on it. So selecting the site, this parcel's on Brick Hill Road. Like I said before, the blue square up top shows it on Brick Hill Road in existence to the current police station. If you go back to what Captain DaCosta said about centrally locating it, this shows the major connecting roads in town and why putting this on Brick Hill Road would be beneficial. Best option identified was the 484 Brick Hill Road based on the preliminary geotechnical test and pitting soil assessment. And these are a few of the reasons we came up with came out of it, why we were looking at this property favorably. And we've heard the comments about the property, and this is why we're still looking at other parcels of land now. However, it's 1,500 feet from Long Pond. It's a buffer there, and it's 1,500 feet from Gifford Street and 450 feet from Andy's Lane on that parcel. Like I said earlier, it's on the northern fringes of the property. This is a conceptual site plan of the proposed police station where it would sit on the parcel. There'd be tree buffering around. When we get to this parcel, it would have a canopy area with the potential to put solar panels on a canopy area. We have the outbuilding just below that, and then there's a small impound area off on the side of the property. It also has some space for the possibility down the road of a indoor modular shooting range. It's contained. We looked at putting a shooting range in the new police station. There's many reasons why you don't. too numerous to get in today, but we're looking at reserving some space in this property where you could bring in a modular gun range. It's all enclosed. There'd be no danger to the environment with a gun range on this parcel. Stormwater mitigation has been a concern in the community about this project. The project, as I stated earlier, will connect to the new sewer. All stormwater will be captured on-site and treated through storm scepters and recharged into the soil through subsurface detention basins. The Department of Public Works, Peter McConaday and his engineering staff, and I can't speak highly enough about the work they do, they're working on best management practices when they're proposing all this. Garages and wash bays in the impound lot will drain into tight tanks and will not be discharged into the groundwater, and will be monitored and serviced regularly under a program called MS4, where the Department of Public Works sets their plan and guide on how to handle this stuff. And water service will be connected to the town water distribution system. The perimeter of the site will have permanent monitoring wells we're looking to install with periodic sampling and standard operating procedures. Should any contaminated water be detected, there's no monitoring on the wells now on the site. This would actually help monitor some of the other existing sites in the area if discharge from the other properties were coming through the proposed police station site. Again, trees, we're not looking at clear cutting 4.5 acres of trees. We're gonna leave stuff here. Trees with the project area will be surveyed in coordination with the town tree warden, cataloged and preserved to the greatest extent possible. Like I said, we're not gonna clear cut anything. Existing grading at the work area pitches away from Long Pond, and the final design grading will maintain that grading. And stormwater runoff on Brickland Road will be improved with constructions of the police station. The proposed site at 484 Brickland Road is within the service water supply zone B, as listed by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. There are a few prohibitions to construction in zone B. I'm sorry, this gets lengthy and I get, none of which apply to this project. And Mass DEP has issued 2 letters following meetings with town representatives confirming DEP regulations do not prohibit development within zone B. With that, we'll take any questions, concerns you may have. We want to hear from you folks about this project. We know there's some concerns about the proposed site, and we'd like to hear from you folks.
A question for the second speaker when he was giving us the demographics for
Captain DaCosta?
yeah, the numbers around 1 per 1,000 to 2.4 per 1,000. I have 2 specific questions. One, when those numbers are calculated, or maybe specifically for this community, is there any attention done to the age demographics? I.e., we've got an older community than possibly some of those other ones. And you mentioned additional staff will increase response times. That makes perfect sense to me. But I don't think you mentioned anything about what are your current response times and have they been decreasing?
So with the increase of our patrol staff, they have been decreasing, but we would prefer they decrease further. No, we didn't look into age as a demographic in that particular range. It's normally not done through industry standards, but it is something we can definitely look at. And what was it? You had 3 questions. What was the third one?
No, it's just the 2.
Just the 2?
The first one about age demographics is, my gut tells me we're not making as many calls to the police because we're an older community. Now, that may be false.
That's false. So we also look at crime rates, and I've been saying since I took over as your chief, how do we get through the summer? It's all hands on deck, working doubles every day. They're even doing doubles now. I mean, it's just we don't have enough people. There's an underbelly here, and you may not see it, but it's there. We dealt with a Section 12 last night. I was with 20 retirees. Captain Price has passed away, and they were having a breakfast for him. And one of the retirees was thanking me for my midnight shift dealing with a mental health crisis. We have 2 clinicians. When I first took over, they told me I had to hire 2 clinicians. I go, am I going to need 2 clinicians? I had 1 in Westboro. I could use 3. The mental health calls, drug abuse, alcohol, car crashes, I don't know how many fatals we've had this year, 2 of them involving teenagers. We are busy. It's nonstop. Our drone flies almost daily, whether it be missing persons, tracks. Do I really want an explosive dog? Not really. But we have major issues and instances in town where I want to get those guns off the street because the dog will detect guns. Why we're going to have a canine sniffing narcotics. who knows how much drugs are coming in and out of the Cape by just the waterways in town. So that's why we started an MES, a pilot program last summer to do more enforcement on the water. It was like the Wild West out there, you know? So what I'll tell you is this. We get it done. Years ago, they'd bring in 25, 30 summer police officers. Because of POST, Police Officer Standards and Training Commission, we can't do that anymore. So how do we do it? They work. They work until they're exhausted. And then people are upset, why ain't you doing traffic enforcement? You know, in my neighborhood, we're answering calls. And when I took over, we were working in the 40s. Now, okay, we're in the 60s, but it's still, to do what we want to do, you need tires that meet the road. And the folks over there, the men and women, they're unbelievable. They're just, one word, awesome. And I'm very appreciative to be a part of that and play a small part, but we're busy. Personally, and I know the town manager laughed at me, we should be 105. 105 all day long, but we're trying to be as realistic as possible. What's the bare minimum we can do to get the job done to be better? And we aren't gonna meet your expectations at times, I'm sorry, we're just not, because there's not enough of us. And to have 5 officers on the road patrolling 44 square miles, unacceptable, my opinion.
Chief, if I can, so in addition to the crime issues, we also have quality of life issues that we deal with on a very regular basis. So, for example, parking issues. Somebody's unhappy with where someone's parking. Neighbor issues. It's fall. What do we get a ton of calls for in the fall? My neighbor blew leaves into my yard. Not necessarily a crime issue, but we respond to each and every one of them. We probably take dozens, if not more, throughout this season for that. So lots of issues like that become things that we have to respond to on a daily basis, which increases our total call volume.
And just to add, the major events that we have here, they're so taxing. 4th of July, we've got 25 troopers helping us, 10 people from Barnstable County, we've got flaggers. The midnight shift alone, I think it was either 76 or 78 calls for service on the midnight shift from midnight till 8 a.m. 76. There's no way 5, 6, 7 officers can handle that. So how do we deal with that? 5 troopers stayed over, and we put 15 people on at a huge overtime cost. That's how we're getting it done. And with overtime, officers get tired. Officers get tired, that's when mistakes can be made. You know, so we have to be very mindful of the mental health and the physical health of our staff when they're working like that. I'm sorry.
All right.
A little long.
Right behind you, Barbara.
I'm Barb Schneider, and I'm the president of the Falmouth Dog Park, and my location is just down the street from the one that this committee has selected. I want to just give you an analogy. When we first built that dog park, we didn't have any lighting, and we started to have indications with needles and wrappers and so on that we were having some drug deals going on in the back parking lot. We got a grant, and we put in a solar light in the back so that we could have it easy for the police to cruise by and look and make sure that there wasn't a car sitting back there. We have 25 stewards that one a day somebody's assigned to come over there and check and make sure things are okay. We added a second light up close so that when people come at 4:30 now, when it gets dark, and they want to bring their dog after dark, they would feel safe. Now we found that with the way we have cloud cover, there are days that the solar lighting doesn't always work. So we got a gift, and we put together money, and we put in an electric light. So we now have a real electric light lighting the front of the dog park. I'm just telling you the scenario because just in one area of town, one park, that is what we are doing to try and watch to make sure everyone stays safe. And it's that necessary. So I just wanted to share that with you when you think about that we don't call that much. Believe me, I call the police a lot. It might be about someone camping at our dog park. It might be someone camping in one of our beach parking lots. But we're worried about people's safety and their health when they're doing these things and that they're in need of these social services. So we're all of us working I happen to be in charge of the beaches in the beach committee, so I will oversee that. And we're worried all the time, and there's a lot of calls. So thank you for supporting the police and what they're asking for.
Thank you, Barbara.
Chief, I'm just curious, what's the percentage of the budget that goes to the police department? Of our tax dollars? How much of our tax dollars go to the police department? I mean, that's something we need, and I'm just curious to see.
I can get you that for our next meeting. I can tell you we have a decent-sized budget. There's no two ways about it, but it's definitely not as large as, say, the fire department, DPW, or the school district. I want to say we're probably $9 million and change, and I'd have to get exactly what the total cost is, of the budget. And that doesn't include retirement and contributions, and it doesn't include health insurance because the town pays, I think, 75% of our health insurance. We pay 25%. But I'd have to research all that. But you've been saving a ton of money on us folks for a long time, so that's why I'm telling you it's our turn. One of the main reasons why, proud East Falmouth resident, standing up here, where it was very important for me to live in town. When I first came, I had some temporary housing in town and fell in love with Davisville in that area. That's where I live now, because I have skin in the game too. I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm asking for a lot, right? We're going to ask to build this big police station. We need more police officers. Well, I have skin in the game. I don't want my taxes going up, but I'm willing to pay a little bit more to provide what I believe is in the best interests of us and of you folks. And I may be on the back nine, but I'm hiring officers, close to 30 people since I started 2.5 years ago. They're going to be here a long time. And I want to make sure they're taken care of and they have the equipment, the tools that they need, moving forward. Like I said, it's just every day I love coming to work. People talk about succession planning. It starts at the patrol ranks. Who's going to be a sergeant? Who's going to be a lieutenant? Who's going to be a captain? Who's going to be the deputy chief? And who's going to be the chief when I'm gone? Which, if I got my way, it's Brian Lowen. I'm working with him every day to make sure he's ready to take over when it's time for me to hang up the cleats. And it's not anytime soon. I still got some energy left. But it's very important to me. The long-term goal of mine is I'm the last chief that's promoted from outside the Falmouth Police Department. I take that very, very seriously.
Chief, the only reason I ask is that if you want safety, it's going to cost you money. And what's more important than safety? So that's something that people should think about.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for the chief or Captain DaCosta. First off, I want to thank you all for being here and having these conversations with us, and I certainly support your staffing needs. But I'm wondering, do you have any statistics that would show, given our community, an increase or decrease in elder abuse, or in domestic violence, infant partner violence, sexual assault, and child abuse, that would drive your staffing needs as well?
So for the domestic violence, that has increased gradually over time, unfortunately. Elder abuse, I don't have those figures off the top of my head, but if anecdotally, I believe that is also gradually increasing. We have also in addition to our clinicians, we have a domestic violence advocate, not advocating domestic violence, but advocating for those folks that have, become a victim.
Oh, good. I didn't think we could leave you speechless, so thank you.
Hi. So what is the biggest concern that you're hearing from people about the placement of what seems to be your number one choice, which is for where the new police department will go? What is the number one concern you're hearing?
Sure. So the number one concern we're hearing from everyone, and the committee as well has that concern, is the protection of our drinking water. And that is a huge concern. Like I said early on, we looked at that parcel, thought it had some deed restrictions, and when we found out it didn't, we went back to it. And that's why I spoke about all the stormwater runoff protections and tying into the sewer system and the monitoring wells and stuff for this parcel. It wasn't a decision that we made lightly as a committee to choose this parcel. It was one that, you know, and the chief can tell you this, every time we met, we'd look at all these parcels, and this parcel just kept kind of rising to the top, or as my fellow committeeman Mike Duffney said the other day, we kept going, hey, over here, what about me? And, you know, so we were back and forth on it, but, you know, we narrowed it down, and again, with all the hard work with the Department of Public Works, their engineering division, and Peter McConaday, and Amy Lowell over at Wastewater, we researched the possibilities of getting it tied into the sewer, and designing a site that not only protects the police station parcel, should we put it there, it protects the entire water recharge area coming from the north of it, because we have the Lutheran Church, the YMCA, a 40B development across the street, Andy's Lane, just next door, and Falmouth High School. And so we're trying to offer some protection for the Water Protection District. Chief?
In the spirit of full disclosure, 3 of the select board members are not fans of that site. We had a forum last week. A bunch of folks came out and spoke against utilizing that site because they're concerned about, Long Pond. I hope the conversation regarding the technology to make sure we test for that water is implemented there, because 80 feet away in Zone B is the YMCA on septic, not sewer, on septic. They're going to be flushing a lot more toilets. They're going to be having a lot more showers. They've got 2 swimming pools, I believe, chlorinated water. So, we need to make sure environmentally that we look about all these different projects and different things that are happening to make sure our groundwater doesn't get contaminated. Do I think we're going to 484? I wish I could tell you yes. I don't think so, based on the last forum. So what are we doing? We're looking at everything. Some woman made a comment, you needed to start thinking outside the box. When I tell you we're thinking outside the box, it's an understatement. We spent 6, 7, 8 hours last week internally, again, going over you would think 44 square miles, finding 5 acres is going to be easy. It's not. It's just not. And that Article 97 is killing us, and where we are staying is killing us. But what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. We're going to find a site. We're going to get this done in a reasonable amount of time, hopefully under budget. But people have to realize, too, if we have to deal with some of these 97 issues, and we have to deal with some of the topography and some of the other issues at some of these sites, cost goes up. Don't yell at us, right? We think we found an A-plus site, at least an A, but we hear you. There's some concerns. There's some reservation. So we're going to do whatever we can to find another site. If town meeting says 484 is out. And I'd like to go into a project, as the temporary caretaker of our police department, in unison, where we're all on the same page. And I respect people, they have concerns. And they're saying, hey, can you 100%, you can't 100% guarantee anything in life, right? But we think we have a good plan in place. But we will find a place to call home. And it's going to be a wonderful facility that we're all going to be proud of.
Thank you, Chief. Right behind, she's coming up behind you.
Thank you very much. I have mentioned in other meetings that I do like the whole plan, but I do have reservations about Long Pond. And I would just like to, because you are relatively new here, just would like to go over the fact that many of us have lost loved ones and neighbors because of the plume from Otis. And that has really hit us hard in this community, in Mashpee, Bourne, Sandwich. So when you're getting that pushback, it's because we have a history. So I really thank you for doing all this, and all the information that you have given me today has made me feel a bit more at ease, but it's still nagging that in the back of my head of the people that we've lost.
And we respect that. We really do. We respect that. And that's why we're doing our due diligence to find an alternate location, because in the spirit of full disclosure, I don't think we're going there after the feedback that we're hearing. We need to all be on board this project. That's the goal. And if we have to, give back on location as far as it's not what we exactly want it to be, so be it. And we're going to make the most of it.
Walter McLean, I like your position near the school. With all the school shootings we've had in this country, having police that close to school for rapid response makes a lot of sense to me.
Thank you. It does. And if you looked at the map that was presented earlier, those diamonds that were on it, it does, locating at this area, if you dropped a pin on the town of Falmouth, for the center of the town, you're gonna drop it on Falmouth High School. We're positioning this police station in the center of town for a reason, to get access to all the school district's buildings. So, thank you.
I just have a quick question, and I'm sure you've considered this. So where you're going on East Falmouth, which is where I live, is the dumping ground for everything. But, so on Sandwich Road, I don't know how close the parcels are to the 300 site, the site for 300 units that has been approved. Do you know off of Sandwich Road? You know where I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
There's 300, projected to be eventually 900 units. So there's that, and then there's another one up the street on Sandwich Road. So I'm guessing when you talk about water quality and all of the things that are involved with the site, I personally would love to have the police station nearby, but in your calculations, has all of that come into your discussions?
Well, and so everyone understands the parcels of land that this lady's talking about is the Saxon properties on Sandwich Road, the proposed 300-unit of housing there. It's 385 Sandwich Road, I believe. And then the second parcel I believe you're talking about is the former Smithfield Farms property across from the Jewish congregation, not far from the intersection of Carriage Shop Road. Yeah, we took all that into consideration. Again, we're trying to centrally locate the police station to serve the entire 44 square miles of the town of Falmouth. Falmouth's a big area. It's the same size as the city of Boston in square mileage, obviously not as dense and populated, but the travel times are crazy, especially in the summertime. So yeah, we did take that.
Take away from this is you're talking hundreds and hundreds of housing units, right, that we're going to have to service at some point, these folks. There's 1,100 pulled permits now, 1,100. So when we talk about our ability per thousand, you're adding another 3,000, 4,000 people just with the current permits we have. Never mind add another 1,000. So, you know, we're going to be, who knows, 45. And if you think we're 32, 33,500 people, there's no way. COVID happened, they didn't leave. They didn't leave. They stayed.
Someone back there.
Yes, I was wondering if, with the design of the building, is there a consider, and the architect, are you considering green building concepts, energy efficiency, heat pumps, and the like, and
Yeah, everything's on the table.
net
From
zero, all that?
geothermal,
Yeah.
solar, everything is on the table. We want to have a state-of-the-art facility that's definitely environmentally friendly. You know, we have 2 electric vehicles that are going to be coming in to the police department. They're finishing building mine right now. It's a Chevy Blazer. It's in this building. It was also designed to add on, to expand years down the road, so we don't have to make the footprint bigger. We have enough as part of this building. So there's a very large first-floor campus and a smaller second-floor campus that can actually be extended out 100 years from now. So I personally think this building, when it's erected, it's going to serve the town for the next 50, 60 years. Hopefully it is current, you know, and if you have to add to it. I'll tell you, I inherited that project in Westboro. I made a $44,000 change order before I was on the payroll. My wife thought I was crazy. She was going to fire you before you start. And it created a couple of extra lieutenant's offices and a deputy chief's office. All those offices are filled. That building's 6 years old, and they're busting at the seams already, you know? So I really feel, as your chief, that we really need to do this right. And I know it may cost a little bit of money, but so we're not in the same position that a lot of the other Cape Towns are that have fairly recent buildings. They're saying we have no storage. You know, we've outgrown it already in 10, 15 years. I just don't want that to happen here.
I can say this just to follow up on that, on your question, ma'am, is the Massachusetts Building Code 780 CMR in the state of Massachusetts is very comprehensive as far as energy efficiency and solar and all that stuff, and there's not a lot of leeway in that code. So, you know, we follow the code. The architect from Tecton is by far off to the races on this project. Anytime we throw something at them, they have an answer for it, and they've been talking about solar and green energy cost savings on this project since the day they interviewed with us back in February.
They are awesome, just so you know.
Sir?
Thank you. Just as a comment, and this is based on experience with Falmouth PD. The facility it was busting at the seams 20 years ago. I know that from direct experience of trying to help and work with the department. But at the same time, if we compare the other utility, if you will, that we're familiar with is fire. And if you drive through the town, you see a lot of auxiliary fire stations, which may have anywhere from 1 in West Falmouth to 4 or 5 vehicles. We don't have that with the police. Police is much better because of the types of handling, bookings, and so forth that have to happen. It's better as a central location. And so the need to have something, and I appreciate what your location of what you have, and I appreciate the problem of trying to locate it in a town that grew up and increased density without thinking about, well, what about law enforcement? Well, how are you going to handle that? And so the notion of having a centralized facility, wherever you're able to put it, where there's good transportation access so there can be a secondary response from that headquarters, right? All are essential and necessary, right? Because we don't know what's going to come up in the next summer or whatever other situation might occur. So the general notion, again, and this is just from several decades of dealing directly with law enforcement at multiple levels, this is a sound plan, and there's no ideal place to put the kind of facility that's needed to deal with the expansion that the chief has identified, which is really necessary. Again, just from back experience. Well, thank you for what you all are doing and for what you're trying to accomplish. And it's probably going to cost us more money in terms of taxes. I mean, Chief, question for you. So you're running double shifts in the summertime. Where's the overhead coming from?
You.
I understand that. But is that coming out of your standard budget, or is that a supplement that you have to go to the town to get?
When I took over and it's increased because staffing has increased, we had open positions. When I took over, my overtime budget was $500,000. My general overtime budget was $500,000. My first year here, I spent $1.4 million in overtime. $1.4 million, triple the overtime to adequately fund the staffing levels for you folks. 2 things I'd like to add for takeaways with this. 1, please go on our website and read the staffing study so you can see the data for yourselves. Excellent work, 44 pages long, unbelievable work. Thank you, Captain. The other is, so people said to me, I'm just trying to get ahead of some of the questions, why don't you just use the Falmouth Academy through MPTC to do your training? Why do you need a training room? So we have a 50-seat training room at this new facility. Why? We don't train in the summer. We don't. We work. We work in the summer. When does Falmouth Police have in-service training, and when do they hold their academy? In the fall and in the winter. So there's no room for us to have training. So I want my staff to have the very best in training possible. So I want to host those trainings at our station. Then they give me 3, 4, 5 slots for free, where I'm actually saving money on you folks. I'm getting state-of-the-art training at a lower cost. So that's one thing I just really wanted to share, because people said, well, why do you need a 50 vehicle parking lot? You need to have 50 people that are attending the classes have a place to park. I envision, community engagement's huge. I envision bingo night with the seniors and the kids. I envision, movie night, with the kids. Community engagement, having a facility like that, where, I don't want them crossing a street somewhere to get to their car at 6:30 at night when it's pitch black out. I want them to be able to park in the station parking lot. So I just wanted to kind of throw out a couple of those things that just popped into my brain. It's one of those, no matter what your political affiliations is, President Obama's 24th Century Policing Report hit it right on the head. Recruitment, retention, right, budgets, and public perception, right? Extremely important. I want this building to be something that you're going to come to and you're going to enjoy, just like this awesome senior center, right? This place is amazing. And that's what I want for you folks and our staff moving forward.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I just want to say one other thing. My husband was chief of research at New England Baptist, and a lot of you know that that means always talking about risk to benefit ratio, which you probably talk about with your doctors when you're deciding whether to take a medication or to have chemotherapy or whatever it might be. I just want you to know that when they're talking about this 484, there was a wonderful letter in the Enterprise this week, the very last letter of, if you didn't read all of them, the last letter, that said, if we can't figure out way beyond the plume, and I live on the course of the plume, so I get what you're saying. If we can't figure out how to stop things before they cause trouble now with stormwater and with underground water, how can we be putting celebrities up into space for a joyride? We've got to be able to do this better than we did then. We're watching it. We know about it. I would hope the risk to benefit says that we could support 484. Thank you.
I just had one.
The outbuilding will be utilized for minor vehicle maintenance, storage of some other equipment, and, Chief, we have anything else? Wash bay for the vehicles. Thank you, Tom.
Also, I just want to reiterate what Chief Laurie said. I worked in the court system for many years, and starting in 2004, and I couldn't believe what the crime rate was, and at that time, and probably true, Cape Cod and southeastern Mass had the highest opiate addiction rate in the country. And it is really an underbelly that you'd never know existed unless you worked in the system and saw it firsthand. And along with the opiate addictions comes all the ancillary crimes that goes with it, you know, shoplifting, domestic violence, and everything that supports that habit. So it's really quite serious. And living in the Heights, I really appreciate the work that's gone on since the chief got hired. And we've seen it firsthand with the 4th of July fiasco a few years ago. I think you were on the job for about 2 days at the time. And then, you know, the clampdown after that, and it's been really wonderful. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. If not the preferred site that you've presented, what is your second most preferred site right now?
Yeah, it's a,
But you must have something in mind. Yes.
Yeah, we're working on that right now, like now.
it wouldn't be prudent, the committee's meeting this week on Friday, it wouldn't be prudent for us to throw a second or a third out there now. We have to do some due diligence on what we have, parcels out there. I mean, we're not giving up on this. It has to get done. It needs to get done. Should have been done already. So this is where we're at.
If I may, so
Here, Tom.
Got to use the microphone.
just part of answering that question is, so leading up to the point when we selected 484, we have probably close to a year's worth of actual work, sitting down and going over all the different criteria for us to work efficiently, and then all the proper things that the site needs to have, and so on and so forth, and architecture and et cetera. So we, you know, once we realized that this site may not work, we went right back to the working table, and we started looking at all the other sites that we think of as a secondary site. And it's going to take a little time to properly vet out the next best site, so to speak.
And what we're hoping is, we're hoping going into town meeting that we have some sites that can be voted on so we know what we're doing, right? We need to understand if we're going to design a building, what's the site, you know, capacity, you know, how do you configure, you know, the station? And I'll tell you, the folks that we have, our OPM and our architects, they're awesome. Why I love them is they don't just shove a building down your throat. It's this is your building, what do you want? So they've been phenomenal. So wherever we do pick, it's going to be just fantastic.
Yeah, I have basically a follow-up question to this. Town meeting's coming up in a couple weeks. and you're going to need to have a decision based on design fund money. So it's $5 million is going to go into the design. I was curious about where that number came from. Also, the $65 million design, or not design, but construction cost, where that came from. But in light of the fact that town meeting's coming up in 2 weeks, are you going to revisit these other alternative sites prior to then?
Yeah,
Because
that's what
there's
I-
so much pushback that you're getting now. People need to know what the alternatives are.
We would like to have a site for town meeting. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
I think we're meeting tomorrow as well, we're meeting Friday, is to have a site. The original cost to come in from the OPM and the architect was $5,450,000. We negotiated with those folks and came down to $5,150,000. And there's a whole host of things with construction costs, and that was given to us by the architect firm in the OPM.
Next, Ian.
Hi. Follow-up question. I think you mentioned that there were a few select people that were not on board with the first option that you had. Is there a way that we can find out whose position is on these topics? Is there a place to go to find out?
Watch the last selectmen's meeting.
The selectmen meeting,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they were honest and.
No, they're doing their job. They have constituents that they answer just like the committee does and the police department does. And they're bringing their concerns back to the committee. We're listening to what they're saying, and we're now, looking at other things. We're listening.
It's working this time. I'm certainly convinced that you guys have all made a great case for needing additional staff. Flip side of that now, and I'm thinking it's going to be at town board meeting too, is are you sure you're going to be able to ask for enough money for those new officers to allow them, like yourself, Chief, to be able to live in this town? It's a problem that we've had for a number of years with teachers, our public servants, and other service people. This town has gotten too expensive for various other and sundry reasons to be able to even pay its own employment needs to be able to stay in this town. So are you raising salaries on your people that you anticipate hiring fast enough to allow them to live here like yourself?
Hopefully, in another week, we're gonna finish off the sergeant's contract. They did get a good increase. If you're all familiar with the educational incentive called the Quinn Bill, you get 10% for a bachelor's degree, 20% for bachelor's, and 25% for a master's degree. As of this past July, they get 8% for an associate's, 15% for a bachelor's, 25% for a master's, and then next July, it goes 10, 20, 25. So that was a big help because we want to promote education and we want to make sure our officers are paid. I don't want to, I'm just going to say it. Barnstable PD, they're looking for laterals, right? They offered a $7,500 signing bonus, more vacation than we have, bringing over your sick time and everything else. To my knowledge, not one of our staff members is put in for Barnstable. So it's competitive out there. So yeah, we gave them a substantial increase to live here. I'm really looking when I hire, I'm looking on Cape, and I'm looking at least people that border the bridge, So for instance, I just gave a conditional offer. He's having a background investigation done now. He found housing in Mashpee with the hopes of purchasing a house in Falmouth. So that's what we're trying to do right now is, the people that we're hiring that are going to the academy in December, 2 young ladies and a Cape Verdean detective, again, adding some diversity to the department. They plan on relocating. I don't know if they can afford to live in Falmouth, but Bourne, and hopefully they'll be on the right side of the bridge. But yeah, there's a plan. There's a plan, and we hire really, really hard, just so you folks know. We rescinded 5 conditional offers on lateral transfers because they're just not going to be police officers here. We hire good people. I can train you, we can train you to be an adequate police officer. We can't train you to be a good person. And that's what we do. We hire really wonderful people. You guys deserve it. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I promise December will be great.